Hello and welcome to It's Me, Oddly. And if you haven't guessed, it's me, Oddly. I am still feeling a little awkward about introducing myself. Maybe the introduction of myself will change, but so far I like it. I just feel a little weird. I hope you're having a lovely day, evening, night, whatever time it is you're listening to this. Yeah. I'm doing okay. I had a pretty pleasant day. And now we're here, and we're going to get into today's episode, which is going to be about self grieving. Now, self grieving is something that I'm relatively new to, I feel. I didn't realize that was something I could do. I didn't realize that I could mourn for parts of myself. And I didn't realize that the hurt part of me was just that. It was hurt because there was someone I thought that I would become, and there was someone that I thought I would be at a certain time that just didn't come to exist. And I was hurt by that, but I didn't know what that hurt was for a very long time. I think that I realized I was grieving, honestly, maybe a year or two ago, and I would just feel so pitiful just thinking about the person that I could have become if I just had this accommodation, if I had realized this was going on with me, but I can't be that person. And that hurt because it's not like I could go back into the past and change everything. I would think about that all the time. Think about, gosh, if I could just go back in time and just give this younger version of myself the tools that they need to go forward and be okay, I would do it. But time travel, as far as we know, just isn't a thing. Well, going backward, technically, if you think about it, you're always traveling through time going forward. Anyway, I couldn't go back in time. I couldn't go back and change what I wanted to change because I knew better now, you know? I knew that I knew what tools I needed at that time, and I learned all the nuances of myself that I didn't know then, that I could have found very helpful at the time. It just ate me up that I couldn't fix everything by just going back. It hurt so much, and I wanted it so bad, even though logically I knew that that just wasn't the case. It was never going to be the case. It was very hard for me to accept that there are just some things that cannot be changed. I can only go forward. And I would tell myself that. I would tell myself that I can only go forward. I can't keep looking in the past. But that didn't change how I felt and how badly I wanted to. I realize now, especially because I talked to my therapist, and he mentioned that grief should not be put on a timeline. If you need to grieve for a few months, you grieve for a few months. If you need to grieve for a few years, you grieve for a few years. Both are totally valid and okay. As long as you are, putting in the work and the effort to try to move forward. And with grieving for myself, I guess I was doing that because I came to those realizations because I was putting in the work and because I was working to change, these and understand those parts of myself. But, meeting myself and meeting parts of myself that had been there this whole time. It's like, what do you mean you've been here this whole time? I could have helped you and you were here and I didn't do anything. like it just tore me up. As I mentioned, I just didn't know what to do with that. I didn't give myself the compassion that I needed to give myself at the time. I was stuck in this cycle of self-pity that I just could not get out of. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure that I understood that I was pitying myself. I was just like, I wish I could go back and change this and do that, and things like that. But I didn't really process it as self-pity at the time. I didn't realize that what I needed to do was change my mindset and, be gentler with myself. As I mentioned in the previous episode, I learned to kind of speak to the younger version of myself and, finally give that part of myself the care and gentleness that I needed at that point now. And though it doesn't change what has already happened, it's healing to finally hear those things that I needed to hear from an adult. And that adult is me. It's like, hey, you're okay. Not everyone's going to understand you. You are going to achieve your dreams. You can do anything that you set your mind to. The things that have happened to you are not your fault. Those are things that I needed to hear at a younger age that I gave to myself as an older person. And again, it doesn't change what has already happened. The past is just that, the past, and you can't alter it in any way, shape, or form, no matter how much you want to. But you can heal from the hurt and pain that happened at that point in time. It isn't easy. That's something I said a lot in the first episode, but it's worth it. And it's scary. I don't think I mentioned that in the first episode, how hard it is and scary it is to like really turn around and be like, hey, person that exists in so much pain, I'm here to talk to you, even though I've been avoiding you for all this time. Like, that's scary. Meeting yourself is scary. Getting to know yourself is so scary. Because it's like getting to know a stranger, but a stranger that you feel like you're supposed to know. It's so weird. I can best link it to a personal experience of mine. My dad, and how it feels like he's a stranger, but he's not supposed to be, and I don't know how to talk to him. And so it's scary trying to talk to him and trying to get to know him because it all feels topsy-turvy and weird, and I don't know like how to approach it or to approach him and talk to him and get to know him. It's just very difficult for me. And that's what it feels like trying to get to know myself and understanding myself, being compassionate to myself. And that's what made it so hard to do in the beginning. But it took practice to be gentle with myself, compassionate. But it helped to imagine the younger version of myself because I can't be mean to that kid. That kid's just a kid. And I know how that kid feels because I am that kid. Psychotherapist Veronica Vargas, MHCLP, wrote an article titled Self-Grieving, Steps for Mourning Your Past Self and Living More Authentically. In the article, she says, in order to break free from what no longer serves us, we need to look inward and honor the pain that we have been holding. I really resonated with that because that's something I had learned, because I recently read the article, but I've been putting in the work. And breaking free from what no longer serves us is hard. It's not. I think that's going to be a big theme of this podcast, like addressing things that are difficult, because it's almost like yeah, this thing is no longer serving me. I am no longer comfortable doing this thing that has gotten me so far, but I know it. I understand it. I know what it is. I know the outcome. As the old saying goes, better the devil you know than the devil you don't. It's though you're uncomfortable, you're familiar. And sometimes it's easier for yourself to pick familiarity and discomfort than to go into the unknown and possibly still end up being uncomfortable, if not more uncomfortable than you would be if you just stayed in the same position. But letting go of what no longer serves you in the process of self grieving, I think, is really important because it will lighten the load. It will take some of those rocks out of your pocket. And like the quote says, you you let go the pain, and being in pain sucks. No other way to put that, really. It's like, yeah, no, being in pain freaking sucks, you know? As I mentioned, therapy has been very helpful throughout this journey. So if that's something that you have access to in any way, shape, or form, I highly recommend it. Though I've done a lot of work on my own, I feel that therapy put a lot of it in perspective. Speaking to an unbiased, outside party was helpful. And then, the therapist I speak to is a trained professional. And, my therapist is someone I generally just vibe with. And we, you know, because we have a good rapport with each other, like talking and breaking things down is easier because we understand each other. So it's not easy to find because, at the end of the day, therapists are people, and if you can't vibe with your therapist as a person, then that just probably shouldn't be your therapist. And though I've been pretty lucky as far as like finding good therapists, I know that's not the case for everybody. It can be annoying and difficult to go to a therapist, unload all this heavy stuff, and then realize, wow, I don't want to see this person. On to the next therapist, and then you do it again. And it's like, okay, I don't like this one either. On to the next one. I can see how that can be very annoying and draining. To give another personal example, it's not related to therapy necessarily, but I've been in the ER a lot, and every time they're like, "Yeah, no, we don't know what's wrong with you, man. You're just weird." They don't tell me I'm weird, but you know what I mean. And it's like I keep going back. I keep ending up in the ER, and they're like, "Nothing's wrong with you." I keep getting poked and prodded. I keep having them run the same tests, look at my heart, have me pee in a cup, do all these tests, give me Ativan, and make me all loopy and confused. I've cried a couple of times because I've been so confused. It's a lot. I'm actually at a point now where I really don't even want to go to the doctor anymore. I'm tired of it. But I'm fighting that feeling very hard because I know that I need to go, and I know that I'm hopefully on the right track to being closer to understand what the heck is going on with my body. Just like mental health stuff, physical stuff is important too. And it's not going to always be easy, and it's going to be draining, and it sucks that I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting frustrated just talking about it. It's been a long journey, but that's not what this episode is about. Not only have I imagined my younger self, I also envision my shadow self, the parts of me that are deemed undesirable and quote unquote shouldn't be seen by other people. I don't know what made me do it, but I just thought that it would be helpful. My train of thought was, well, if talking to the younger versions of myself has been healing for me, maybe talking to my shadow self could also be healing for me. And so I gave it a shot. And oddly enough, haha, I said the thing. I'm sorry. But no, weirdly enough, like, I found it to be a lot harder, a lot more difficult to try to talk to my shadow self, because it was like, oh, hey, these are all the things you've ever thought were wrong with you. How you doing? With my younger self, it's like, that's a kid, and I'm not going to be mean to a fucking kid. But my shadow self is just present me, but in black clothes, because that's how I imagined it. I don't know why. That's what my brain chose. I rolled with it. But yeah, and so, like, essentially, almost, it was like looking in a mirror. Really, it's like, oh yeah, this is me really meeting myself right now. And it's like, oh, hey, haha, I've been trying to hide from you, and in general, just hide you. And now we're confronting each other. How's it going? So, very, very weird to do that. But once I like really got into it and really looked at those parts of myself that I did deem unworthy or unlovable, I looked at them for what they really were. And I learned that a lot of those parts, nothing was ever wrong with them. People said something was wrong with them because they didn't like how abnormal I was in whatever aspect that may have been to them. And I just have always been someone who, from what I can tell, I've always made people, I guess, uncomfortable. And I don't really know why. Could be the whole being neurodivergent thing. Who knows? I've heard that from a couple of people. They have that experience. That could be why. But because of that, I have had a hard time being myself. And I just kind of shoved most parts of me away. And so when I like finally really like looked at those parts of myself, it was like, wow, you're actually not that bad. If anything, you're just hurt. And essentially, like, with my shadow self and my younger self, the younger versions of myself that I would have quote unquote conversations with, it was almost like gentle parenting. It was kind of like, okay, hey, little human, I love you, you're a star, keep up the good work, kind of energy. And like having really heavy talks with those younger versions of myself, very weird in the sense of like, oh wow, I'm a mom now, but I'm a mom to myself. I'm non-binary, but mom sounds right to me. I don't know. Anybody else feel like that? If you're, non-binary, but you're like, hey, mom sounds good, or this feminine thing, I relate to it. It's a weird thing. That should be something I talk about at a later date. Gentle parenting myself has been warm. That's the best word I can use to describe what it's been like to gentle parent myself. It's been a very warm experience. And I feel so loved and just comforted. It's nice. I highly recommend it if you ever get to that point where you're comfortable with that. Give yourself a little gentle parenting, or just gentleness in general. I don't know, take yourself out to a nice restaurant, buy yourself some cute shoes, buy the world's largest taffy, whatever really butters your biscuits, I would get the taffy. that sounds cool. Like, not even to eat it, like, just to have it. Like, yeah, I own the world's largest taffy. No big deal. Where's this going? Um, a big thing. I'm still thinking about taffy, but yeah, what I noticed, like looking back, because again, research, but looking back, I realized that a big part of why it took me so long to move forward in my self-grieving process, I did a lot of distracting. Like, I would look into literally anything. Like, I'm talking just going on YouTube watching the most random stuff. Like, those video essays, got really, really into those, and I would watch bunches of those. I would play video games, just anything to distract myself. Reading, not novels. I was reading fan fiction. Why did I almost lied. I almost lied. There's no reason to lie. It's 2023, baby. People read fan fiction. Am I going to disclose what I was reading? That's none of your damn business. Anyway, that's a little too personal. We do not need to be that close. Anyhow, I was just doing anything to distract myself and to just not be aware of what I was feeling and the fact that I was grieving, because it was uncomfortable. Of course, I'd want to distract myself. I would, ask myself, why was I running? Because I was very aware of it. My thing is, though I will, do that thing where I like kind of try to run away from my problems, I will eventually turn around and be like, wait, why am I running? Why am I doing this? Because I guess I'm just nosy. I don't know. But yeah, I would ask myself, like, babes, what's going on? Why are you running? What's going on? Like, why are you running from yourself and running from your truth? And I wouldn't really be able to answer the question, but I wouldn't stop asking myself the same question. Why am I running? Why am I running? What am I running from? And like, though I didn't have an answer, I just kept coming back to the question. Like, for the life of me, I guess I just really very badly wanted to know. I wanted to know why I was at this point of like, what are you running from, dude? And why don't you want to face it? It wasn't until I think it's because I asked myself the questions that I later got the answers, but I noticed that I would get the answers when I wasn't even thinking about the question. It would just hit me, and I would like be like, oh, okay. Or I would like write it down, or like jot notes, because sometimes I'll do that, like with research I do about like self-healing and improving. Sometimes I'll just write notes because I don't want to forget it. It's like, once I understand something about myself, and especially if I'm excited, I want to write it down. I have to write it down. I have to know that I know, and so I have to like make a note of it. I think it's kind of like when your teachers are like, yeah, write this down in your own words, because they want to know that if you can explain it to yourself, then you understand it, type of thing. I think that's what my brain is like trying to get me to do when I really want to jot down things that I'm like learning about myself. Yeah, so that's just something I would do. And I constantly started working on my self-talk too. I think that really helped with the grieving. I think that it really got me a step closer to being more comfortable with myself. I think this is another thing that I talked about in the last episode. Just being more comfortable, saying nice things to myself. And I think that also turns around to the gentle parenting, because the gentle parenting led me to be someone who said kind things to my younger self. Since younger self got it, older self has it. And because the older self has it, I can just in general speak kindly to myself, and making sure that like I, affirm my truths. Like if I catch myself feeling the need to be like, I'm unlovable, I would catch myself and say, no, I'm not unlovable. I'm actually very much loved at this point in my life by my family and my friends, and I have people that genuinely care about me and want to be around me, and to who think I'm funny and cool, I would do that. Developing compassion for myself was super important, and developing a better way to talk to myself also very important. Cause now I think I'm the coolest person ever, and I like me. I like being around me. I think I'm funny. I think I'm interesting. I think I'm beautiful. No, I know these things about myself. I genuinely believe them, and I don't care if anyone else believes it, because who cares? I'm me, and I think me is pretty damn great. Like, whatever, dude. I think I'm the bee's knees. And yeah, I say things like bee's knees. Who cares? I like it. But yeah, and you know what was like really important though? Learning how to get out of survival mode. Oh my gosh. I don't even I don't even know where to begin with that one, cuz like, when you do it for so long, be in survival mode, you don't even realize that you're doing it. You don't realize that that's no way to live. It kind of hits you like a freight train one day. At least that's how it was for me. It was like, oh, hey, just so you know, you're not really living. You're just surviving, and you're doing the bare minimum just to get through every day. It's like, thank you for telling me that. That came out of nowhere. But thanks, man. That was a lot. Okay. And so you just kind of like have to deal with that and learn what that means, because it's like this idea was presented to me, right? It's like, yeah, people live in survival mode and they do this, this, and this. And I'm like, oh, that sounds familiar. But of course, I'm not gonna like process the fact that I do that and that's me. I'm like, that's pretty interesting, isn't it? Slowly, I start to realize, like, oh, wait, I see why that's familiar now. Because it's like, haha, I do that. And it's like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that anymore, because that's no way to live. And then you have to unlearn what that means. What does that mean now? Like, how do I chill, essentially? I think a big part of getting out of survival mode for me was being in the present, because me in survival mode is hypervigilant. And hypervigilant me is like very much not only worried about the past, but also very much worried about the future, and is always freaking out. I'm still always freaking out, but not as bad. And like, I feel like I'm better about it. I try to be less nervous. I just have a lot of energy, I think. I honestly think that's what it is. Hypervigilance was a big part of survival mode for me, and just like feeling like I need to be aware at all times, feeling like I need to know my surroundings at all times. I didn't realize, like, this goes as far back as like I'm thinking about like elementary school, when I would prefer to sit in the back of the class with my back to the wall and nobody behind me, because I wanted to know what was going on around me from every angle. I wanted to know what was happening in front of me, on the side of me, and I wanted to be sure that nothing and no one was behind me. Which, when you think about it, is like something could technically happen, like something could come through the wall, but that wasn't my thought process. Like, okay, I'm against the wall, that means I can see the entire classroom, and because I can see the entire classroom, I feel safe. That's not a normal thought, now is it? I don't know. It doesn't sound like a healthy thought, that's for sure. Like, that's big. And so, like, I had to like learn how to like, I guess, get out of that and like do it less. I think I still do it sometimes. I'm maybe that's just a part of being human. Like, sometimes you feel like you need to be very much aware of your surroundings for whatever reason. But feeling like you need to be hyper vigilant while you're in your bed is a bit much and very overwhelming. So I thought maybe that was something I had to get in check, and I did. Honestly, I don't know how I did it. I will be honest with you. I guess I just did it. You know, I did what I had to do. Forgiving myself was a big part of this process, I feel too. Because I had to forgive myself for not becoming the person I thought I would be. I honestly thought that by this point in time, by like 24, 25, which I now realize is wild because life is only just beginning, but I wanted to like be married with a house, 2.5 kids, yada yada yada, whoop de whoop. You know, the whole American dream. I realize now that's not even something I want for several different reasons. I just want to vibe and chill and vibe. Don't know about you guys. If you want to do the whole quote unquote American dream thing, get into it. But I realized that wasn't even something I wanted. That was just something that I was told I was supposed to want. And I had to forgive myself for not becoming that version of myself. Though I realized I didn't want it, I still had that idea of it being success. I saw it as, oh, that's peak success. I have a normal 9 to 5 office type job, and I have a home and a person and kids and a dog, and so now I've hit peak success. And I realized that yeah, no, that's not going to be the same for everybody. And that's not even my thing. So, you know, probably should rework that and forgive myself for not becoming a person that I don't even want to be. And forgive myself for not accomplishing dreams at a time frame, I guess I want to say, that I thought that I would. 'Cause that's okay. That's fine. Like, everything happens for a reason. Everyone's on their own journey. Some people don't do something extraordinary until they're 80. That's cool. If I don't do anything extraordinary until I'm 80, that's fine. I just want to make sure that I'm okay and that I'm happy. That's what I've come to realize. I just want to be happy, and I want to feel content, and I want to feel secure. Those are very important to me. Making sure that not only I'm okay, but the people around me are okay. My loved ones are okay, and they're happy. Those are the things that matter to me above all else. To move in love and in kindness, and to just try to do right by me and others. Because that's really all I can ask from myself. I can't expect that from other people, but I can expect it from me, and I know that I can always try to put my best foot forward when doing anything. And that's all I can do, you know? I just want to be the best version of me, the kindest version of me. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to this episode of It's Me Oddly. It has been so much fun getting into this podcast and just creating this. I feel like it's something that I'm truly making from the heart, and I feel like I've really found my calling. I'm just glad to be here, and I'm glad you're with me on this journey. You can find me on most socials at Oddly Cozy Cottage. You can also find me on Twitter at Oddly Cottage because someone stole my name, and I will get my vengeance. That's a joke. Or is it? It's a joke. Don't even worry about it. I like being Oddly Cottage. But yeah, I hope that you have a really great day, night, evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. And just keep going, man. You got this.